All right. So what is your thing? What are you about? Like, what is the thing that your friends know that is kind of your thing? Maybe it's a favorite sports team that you follow or a celebrity that you have a major crush on or something. What is your thing? Like, we all have things that we are for. We know. Like, if you come here at all, you probably can guess what I am really passionate about, what I really, really love. Pokemon, right? I do. I love it, right? Absolutely. I'm a total nerd. I accept that. I will roll with that. It is all good. But we all are for things. And usually, when we are for something, we also kind of have to be against something as well, right? Like, for example, if you are for the Ohio State University, then who are you against?
Michigan.
Michigan, right? If you are for the Cleveland Browns, you are against
Steelers.
the Steelers. If you are for the Cleveland Cavaliers, you are against
Golden State Warriors.
LeBron James. LeBron James is the answer. Wow, none of you knew that so much better than you guys. Right? If you're for or something, you're against something. We all are for or against all sorts of different things. So this morning I want to see what things you are for or against. So we're gonna play a quick game called For or Against. You're gonna move to the side of the room that you are either for or against something. Alright? So for example, the Browns. The Browns. Are you for the Browns? If you're for the Browns, stand over here. If you're against the Browns, over here. Gotta be quick. For or against the Browns. For or against. All right, nice. Nice job. Nice job. All right, how about field trips? For or against field trips? Who is going to be against field trips? That's what I want to know. For or against field trips?
No one is.
It depends on where you're going. A learning one, you're like, no. In between. All right. How about snow days? Snow days. Certainly you're all for snow days. For is over here. Against is over here. You're against snow days? Do you love Satan? What is your deal? Everyone loves snow days. What, you guys? Crazy. Crazy. How about this? Taylor Swift? How can anyone get against Taylor Swift? She is great. You know all the lyrics to her songs. Wow. It is on the radio 24/7. What about superhero movies? Are you for or against superhero movies? For or against? Superhero, for? For over here, against superhero movies. You're tired of them. They've lived there, past their prime. Nice. All right. How about this? Hanging out with your siblings or parents. For or against? Wow. Wow.
I'm in the middle.
For or against? Wow, my daughter's going against. That hurts. It really hurts. You are grounded. You're so grounded. Wow. Where's Eden? Eden, you can't decide. You're like, if it's hanging around with my parents, yes. My sibling, no. You're like, not sure. All right. How about drawing in your free time? Are you for drawing in your free time or against drawing? How can you be against drawing? I do not know. You're an anti-drawing. You're like, no to drawing. That's what you're saying? All right. What about eating healthy? Are you for eating healthy or against eating healthy? I mean, we all want to be for eating healthy, but then there's pizza. How do you not eat pizza? All right. Video games. For or against video games? For or against? Wow, a lot of ladies moving over to the against side. You girls clearly have not played Pokemon. Clearly. Or Fortnite. Wow. All right. What about this? The Shiggy Challenge. The Shiggy Challenge. You might also have heard it called the Kiki Challenge. So the Shiggy Challenge is created by a rapper named She who listened to a song by Drake that he really liked, created this dance, and people have taken it to driving out of their cars with it. So if you don't know what the Shiggy Challenge is, here's what it looks like.
I'm gonna go back over here. Excuse me, sweetheart.
No one's driving. That's the challenge. All right, shaky challenge. Are you for it or against it? For it or against it? Wow, a lot of you against it. Some of you for it. All right, nice job. All right, you can have a seat. You can have a seat. Nice job. Well, for you that are for it, I want you to be careful when you're doing the shaky challenge, because it can end up really bad for you.
Oh, you do? Oh, yeah.
You better get in that car. So be careful when you are doing that, right? All of us are for or against all sorts of things. And if you know your friends, you probably know what they would have guessed, things that they're for or against, because you know them well, right? So what we're for and what we're against are vital parts of who we are. So this word vital, it means things that are necessary, things that are important. When you go to the doctor, you get your vitals taken, right? They check your breathing, they check your temperature, they check your blood pressure, make sure all these vital signs are really, really important. Well, when we talk about vital, and while being for or against something isn't necessarily vital to living, it definitely brings into clarity what is it that you are for or against. And when it comes to following Jesus and being a Christ follower, we ask, what is vital? What are the things that you should be for or against? It's a vital part of what people think it means to follow Jesus. And you see this a lot in the church. A lot of people feel like if you're a Christian, you should be for these things and against these things. And you guys have seen it in the media. Can you guys give me an example of something that Christians are supposed to be for? It doesn't mean that we're all for it or against it, just something that typically all Christians, if you're a Christian, if you love Jesus, you're supposed to be for this. Yeah, okay, for Jesus, against the devil, right? Nice. Give me another example. Yeah.
Pro-life.
Yeah, pro-life, right? So Christians are supposed to be pro-life and not pro-choice, right? So that's what a lot of people believe as well. Like, if you're a Christian, you have to be against being pro-choice and for being pro-life. Any other ones come to mind? What? Yes, Gene?
You have to be politically conservative.
Yeah, that if you're going to be a Christian, you have to be a Republican, right?
Yes.
And if you're not a Republican, you have to be against the Democrats. Another one that's been really popular is marriage. You know, Christians are supposed to be for marriage between a man and a woman. And if you're a Christian, you're supposed to be against gay marriage. You know, all these things that are supposed to be, what are you supposed to be? If you're following Jesus, you should be for these things and against these things. Well, how are you supposed to know? How is a Christian supposed to know what are the things you're supposed to be for and be against? Well, I think what we need to do is, instead of listening to what everyone else is doing, we need to really look at Jesus. What was he for and what was he against? And so this morning we're going to take a look at a passage out of the book of Matthew. So Matthew was one of Jesus' best friends, and he hung out with him for 3 years, and he wrote down all the stories that he thought were important about what Jesus did and said, and he put them together in a book, and they titled the book Matthew, a very, original name there. Matthew wrote it, so let's call it Matthew. So he comes across this one, and Jesus is in this town, and he's meeting with these religious leaders. Now, these people are super religious. They really love God, and they feel like if I'm to be for God, there's some things that, as someone who loves God, can't do. And so they started with the 10 Commandments, which I'm sure you guys know is, don't lie, cuss, steal, or chew, or go with girls who do, right? That's that? No, of course not. But there are the 10 Commandments, don't commit adultery, don't murder anyone, don't steal, don't lie, don't covet, don't worship any other gods. And then on top of that, that wasn't enough to be against all those things. The Jewish leaders, these religious leaders, they had to come up with 600 plus more laws of things that you have to do. Like, if you're going to follow God, you have to be against all these things. So this one religious leader comes up to Jesus and he asks this question. He says, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" In other words, he's saying, of all the things we're supposed to be against, What is the one that's the most important? And Jesus kind of messes with him a little bit. He gives him an answer he's not expecting. This is what Jesus says. Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. So this guy was expecting Jesus to say, well, out of all the biggies, this is the biggest one. And so he doesn't say anything you should be against. In fact, he says, this is what you need to be about. You need to be for God and for others. And it is so freeing. That is what makes Jesus so incredible and so ridiculously amazing back then. Because instead of being against all these things, Jesus said, well, no, it doesn't matter. You need to be for God and for other people. He came to set us free from keeping a list of do's and don'ts. And instead, he gives us this one thing. Hey, if you do this, if you do these two things, it will sum up all these things that you're supposed to be against. All right, so just do these two things. Instead of being all about rules and regulations, Jesus said that life was about loving God and loving others. And in other words, what Jesus said is what we are for is more important than the things we are against. And that's the big idea that we want you to leave here thinking is what we are for is more important than what we are against. And that's what we need to be known for. Christians should be known for a love for God and a love for others. I mean, can you imagine what would it look like if we really did that? How would our lives be different if we really took seriously saying, you know what, that's what we're going to be about. People aren't going to know me because I love Pokemon or I love watching this certain TV show or whatever. They know me because I love God and I love others. Man, if you would do that, it would revolutionize your social life, your family life, your school life. It would change everything. You would not have to worry about whether you're going to have any friends come hang out with you, if you're going to have friends go to Die Wars with you or not, because people will love to be around you because they know that you're about God and about others. And that is the kind of relationship that changes people's lives. It's what's vital. It's what we're for is more important than the things that we are against. So what does that look like for you guys? And how do you get there? How do you get to that point where what you are for is more important than what you're against? Well, I think it takes two things. The first thing I want you to start is I want you to encourage you to memorize it. Memorize that verse. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. If you could memorize that next week, that would be awesome. Come back here, tell your small group leader, tell me. That would be so cool if you could memorize that verse. The other thing I encourage you to do is to notice it. Notice it in your week. What are the things that you are for or against? When you look back on your day, when you're laying in bed at night, I want you to think back through your day. What are the things that if someone was following me, they would say, I was for or against? And then at the end of the week, be thinking through, what would that be said about me? And then compare that to Jesus. And think, hey, where do I need to pick up the slack? Where do I need to be a little bit better? I want to encourage you today. I don't know where you are in your relationship with God. I don't even know if you're a Christian, but if you're not a Christian, I want you to know that Christians are for you, and they're supposed to be for you. And if you leave here remembering anything, it's that Jesus is for you, no matter what you've done, no matter what you've said, no matter how you feel about him. Jesus is for you. He loves you. What we're for is more important than what we're against. As you go to small groups, I want you to think about this question. What is one thing people know that I am for? What is one thing that people know that I am for?